Welcome everyone to the Wednesday morning series. Troy Love is with us today. He talks about attachment wounds and voices of shame. He has on alternating Thursdays a drop-in group, free drop-in group for betrayed partners. And every Friday he's working with guys to talk about these issues. In fact, I've even heard they have a hot seat where people can volunteer to delve into their issues a bit more. Separately, he has work groups on our website under the work group tab on Seeking Integrity. You'll see opportunities to connect to the online work groups. Those are 90 minutes per week, live facilitated. But he's here on the webinar series next month. So for the month of May, he and Dr. Eddie are switching. So Troy will be joining us on the third Wednesday, and Dr. Eddie will be on the fourth Wednesday. And then on the fifth Wednesday, because May has one, I've got a special feature. So I'll be posting that information yet this week about what that will be. So stay tuned to the schedule. But make note of that. Well, join us for all of them. I mean, it's just join us for all of them. Then you don't have to worry about it. So, but that's kind of the scoop of the moment. So, Troy, we don't have any questions yet. So,
But do you have the questions from last time? We had
oh
several.
gosh, I probably do. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
I do save them. Oh, yes, I do. Oh my goodness, we have a lot. Okay. Okay. So the first one, and I will email all this to you. I should have typed them up. I need to detach as my spouse isn't in good recovery. He had a slip relapse and now is saying he wants to commit to a program. Is it okay for me to share information with him on enmeshment and a need for a therapist who specializes in that? I hear that addiction recovery is hindered unless enmeshment is dealt with.
Well, of course it is okay to share that with him. The issue, well, the concern I have is that if he hasn't been doing recovery yet, and he's finally committing to do a program, that what that tells me is he probably doesn't have a whole lot of sobriety under his belt. So enmeshment is definitely part of the curriculum, but there are some like basic things that he would need to work on first before we jump right into enmeshment. So I would recommend that he get some sobriety under his belt, get some support systems, get a recovery, like a sponsor, a group of guys that can be there to support him and all that. And then when he's got some recovery under his belt, he can jump into enmeshment, because he's going to have to deal with it.
And I agree. And, you know, we sorry, we see this a lot with people that run off and go, I'm going to go do my trauma work, and they don't have the support to be able to, to hold this space for it. So it really is, stop the problematic behavior and then address the layers. But, Dr. Rob was asked previously on a webinar too. It's like, somebody was like, I'm getting really triggered working with my trauma therapist. And he said, tell your trauma therapist, that we need to slow things down. And then you can, you can do this in layers. Honestly, this is one of those, this is a lifelong journey, and you will continue to have new awakenings, new information. So just go like, I've honestly appreciated, and actually Troy has been a big part of my journey too with that. I've been in recovery for a long time, and I learned through Troy that I have a massive abandonment wound, but it didn't keep me from being sober. It just gave me more opportunities to do some work. So that would be one of we have a live question. So Troy, we always talk about grieving the betrayed partner's experience. Can you speak to the grieving that the betrayers experience in recovery when they start realizing that things they lost as a result of their addiction?
Or the betrayer.
Yeah. So he said we always talk about grief from a betrayed, but now, yes. And yes, there is grief in, I mean, we've lost out on things while we've been.
So there's an exercise I often do with betrayed partners that would probably be just as apropos for the individuals who are struggling with the addictive or compulsive behaviors, and it's called a losses poster. And they put on that poster all the different things that they've lost as a result of the secrets and the behaviors of their partner. And so the person who's struggling could do the same thing, all the things that you've lost. So there's things that you've lost just as much as they have. Emotional safety sometimes is lost, sexual safety, sexual fun, um, so is often lost until the couple can figure out how to bring that back in a different way. But a lot of times, like that sexual component of the relationship is not going to be there for a while. Spiritual loss, the past is tainted now. Um, your own sense of self-confidence, what you've believed about yourself, the shame about all the things that you've done. How do you, the loss of trust from your partner doesn't trust you because of your behaviors. Like those are all a lot of different things that we have to work through, or we're invited to work through. You don't have to do anything, but you're invited to work through it. The challenge um, I don't know if it's any different than with the partner, but the challenge that I often see with individuals who've done the behavior is they get sucked into shame, and shame tells them that they're bad and they're awful and they're never going to be able to repair this, and life would be better off without them, and all those kind of things. And sometimes honestly that is echoed by the partner says those same things, and that is hurtful and painful. And so the challenge is that oftentimes we can then go into shame, which exacerbates the loss. What I've found is the men, because I usually work with men who are able to transcend the shame, they're able to learn ways to deal with that and become resilient to that, actually are able to have an even better relationship with their partner than they had before. Um, in one of our drop-in groups once, we had a guy who was talking to his wife and reminiscing about all the good times in the past, and then she's like, honey, they weren't good. They weren't good.
Um,
And his light bulb went on, and he realized, no, they weren't. I was keeping secrets, I was doing all of these things, and now I'm not. And so we have a better potential to be able to have a healthy relationship because of that. So you may want to do that, and if you have a therapist, you may want to have your therapist help be a witness to the loss that you've had, because you have had some. Just understand it as loss and grieve it, and then find a way to move on, not dwell in the past and just beat yourself up.
Interesting that he was able to take that in from her and go, oh, you're right. So I honestly, I really appreciate that because that can be challenging. Okay, so the next one is a four-parter. So I
Okay.
sent an email, but my essay, PA, lives in different states, 8 months since D-Day. He's in good recovery for the past 2 months, no acting out, sees a CSAT, online meetings, etc. We are doing well. He was meeting my boundaries. I feel insecure and secretly voice recorded him, and he found out. We broke up and had no contact for 3 weeks. Talked yesterday. He wants us to continue to contact to work on ourselves and our healing, but that we are still in a committed relationship. So he wants no contact. I can't help but think he is manipulating and gaslighting me like a vacation to relapse. He claims he hasn't acted out. He says he can see things clearly and is taking time to learn how to better reflect on his addiction and how to kick it. He says, I need to take time to see if I can forgive and trust him. I'm not in a safe place to trust unconditionally. Can we even work this out? Have you seen couples stay committed together? So that's the first question. Um, and then the next one is, um, let's see, here it is. So having no contact for healing, should we detach and let go? I'm trauma bonded, but have no contact to work on their healing. Should I say no and learn to detach and let go? I love him, but I see he has changed. I've learned from the groups that when you're in recovery, partners will know. I can see it. What's the healthy way to handle the situation? And then the last one, tell him to either stay apart with no contact or get back together and work on ourselves together, or do as he wants and be committed but have no contact for now. I'm afraid I'm being played and I see a big change in him. Thank you. So my struggle with this is it's a good recovery for the past 2 months, and the partner is seeing a big change, but they've had no contact. So that's what I'm hearing in all of this. So thoughts?
So let me make sure I understand. So they're living apart, they're living in separate states. Right now, there's not any contact per the husband's choice.
Yeah, yeah, and it could be partner, but yeah. So per the betrayers,
Choice.
yeah, he says that we need to take time. He, wants to kick it on his own, but
Okay.
well, not on his own. He's doing some essay meetings, etc. But he's at this time, it was last month, he had 35 days of sobriety. So what I'm hearing is a partner who's going like, oh, I see lots of change, but has very little interaction with him. And, he's going like, I want you to work on forgiving me and, trusting me. So it feels like this isn't a safe place for her to insert any trust yet.
Well, that's what I'm hearing that she's saying. Like she's wondering if she's um being played, and the fact that she's wondering that tells me that there's a lot that is going on. She's asking questions about, should she stay, should she go? Unfortunately, I don't make those decisions for other people. I can't make those decisions for you. I can recommend that you look at a book called Conscious Uncoupling by Catherine Woodard Thomas. Even if you decide that that's not what you want to do, I've had a lot of couples who've been thinking about separating, who've been thinking about what that would look like and how did they do it without hating each other for the rest of their lives. And they've read that and then they've decided that they don't want to. Um, they don't want to, but it gives some perspective of some things that you can think about as you're making those decisions. I'm I'm guessing that because he's gone and you really don't have a whole lot of contact with him, you are not going to really have much in the way of evidence to show that he's doing anything. He can be honest with you. He could also be lying to you, but you're not really going to know. And so that uncertainty fuels the sense of wanting to control and the sense of wanting to, and that sounds really overwhelming. So I, I think it's going to be really hard the way that things are for whatever reason he's gone, maybe work or whatever, but I think it's going to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, I can't work on a relationship by myself, so I can work on improving myself, but okay, so then the next one is my husband has not acted out in the same that he did initially. That was prostitutes and massage parlors for a long time, but is not in recovery. Recently, he started to look at profiles of women on social media that are nude or nearly nude. But when I suggested this is acting out, he got angry and said it's PG-13 and I shouldn't be upset, and then pointed out everything I do wrong to take attention off of his behavior. I cannot seem to get him to see his own problem because he thinks giving up the cheating physically means he does not have an addiction. I know, I know. But I love that she said that he got angry and that I shouldn't be upset that I shouldn't be upset, and pointing out everything I do wrong to take attention off his behavior. So she knows that that's the exact reason he's doing it. So
Yeah,
like
we call that
I
turning the tables, right?
yeah.
I don't care if it's PG-13. Um, I don't care if it's G rated. That's not the point. Like the point is, what are you doing that is so I talked to one of the analogies I give to guys is like you're on this heel, like you're on this really heel. And so I'm up here right now and I'm in recovery. I'm doing my green circle, outer circle behaviors. Things are good. And then things happen and I start getting tempted. And so I start moving down the hill and now I'm into my yellow circle behaviors and doing some things that probably are not going to be helpful for me. And the more that I go, the more that I'm starting to like slide down the hill. And it's a really steep hill. At some point on this hill, you're going to get what I call past the point of no return. Even if you haven't acted out yet, it's going to be too steep and you're gonna fall. And you're gonna fall long below your bottom line. And then you have to climb yourself back up and start all over again. So to me, it's he can justify that as PG-13 if he wants to, but that's not the point. Like he's flirting with things that are going to make him slide, and he's doing similar patterns to what he was probably doing before, looking at these women. One thing leads to another, and off the cliff he goes. So you have every right to be upset. You have every right to feel angry and worried and concerned. Of course, any spouse in your situation would probably feel the same. And he's not taking ownership. He's not taking ownership of his behavior. And so what we try to do when I don't want to take ownership is I want to give it to you. I want to blame you for all your stuff. So I love that you can see that that's what he's doing. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but that's his deflection. So that's sad. I'm sad.
It is sad, yeah, and yeah, we talk about non-porn porn, and that's yeah, anything, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, anything that is that is getting that dopamine going, that is that adrenaline intensity, that is numbing me out, is a problem. But and the sad to me is also that he is so disconnected from you that he's not going, oh, my wife does not like that I'm doing these things, and I care more about healing the relationship than this. Now that's called active addiction. So you are correct that he is not in any kind of recovery. So I'm going to ask you, and I hope you are doing healthy things for your healthy behavior so that you have the support regardless of what he's doing or not doing. So, okay. Next one. My husband is still acting out roughly every 2 weeks. He's in DBT, EMDR, and SABR recovery program. Can't move to the next phase until he's been sober or has more sobriety, and has been in this phase for 5 years and individual therapy. I have continual therapeutic support, graduated some same program I did, EMDR, etc. He claims I've grossly mistreated him for the past year, and I'm ready for divorce due to the harsh language, continued addiction, and blame. He blamed ADHD for his pace. I do my best to not react, but is there any hope given how long this journey has been? He says 12-step, celebrate recovery, out of the doghouse, etc., are shaming, not healthy for him. Oh, goodness. I'm going to get a lozenge. I'm going to let you answer.
Well, I always have hope that people can change. I guess I wouldn't be doing this job if I didn't have hope. And I'm hearing that there's a lot of red flags for me around that. Now, it may be true that you did use those words. I mean, I know some wives that when they get angry, they say some things. So that may be true, but this is not when I'm focusing on what another person is doing, then that leads me to not focus on what I'm doing and what my recovery is. When when a person is angry and maybe even saying those words, it's because a wound got hit. And so I can respond with blame and shame, or I can try to respond with empathy, but I can't do that if I haven't done my own work. So what I'm hearing is that he has a lot of work to do, and he wants to blame other people and uh, can say that other people aren't doing well, all those kind of things. And that's to me not accurate. And I don't think out of the dog, I mean, personally, I don't think out of the doghouse is shaming. But it is if you feel bad for what you do. So uh, uh, you have a long road to hoe if you were going to stay. And I'm not saying you should leave, but just know this is gonna take a little longer.
One of the things we talk about, like in the Empowered Women's Retreat, which we have a new date, August 15th through 18th in Scottsdale. It's a gorgeous location, and check it out. But we talk about, internal boundaries, external boundaries, and there are lots of partners who choose to stay, and all good, but making sure that you have safety, and that you're not focused on, what he's doing or not doing. Yeah, I mean, lots of excuses from him, but I don't hear any real work, and lots of addicts have ADHD. I do. And and you know what? We can do the work if we choose to do it. We just have to come up with coping mechanisms to do so. So to me, this is more, what do you need to do to take care of you, regardless of what he's not doing, which is a lot. You've graduated into the next step. So you're doing good, and I'm glad. Well, hopefully you're back again, because this was last month's, but like you taking care of you regardless of what he doesn't do. It, often his partner's going like, yeah, you're not safe, so I can't be as connected to you as I would like to be. And it's all good, but it doesn't have to steal your joy. So last question on the old ones, and then we're going to get to the new ones. As a mom of a special needs child, I am sure my other children feel abandoned. Any advice so they don't have addictions?
Mm, so not everybody who has an attachment wounds is going to end up being an addict. Um, they may find other ways of numbing. We all do, but that doesn't mean that they are going to be an addict. It really kind of, there's a lot that goes into that, and not everything, even though Freud may disagree, has to do with your parents. I mean, a lot, but so first of all, I love that you're asking the question, because I can tell that you love all your kids, and um, your special needs child requires a little bit more attention and a little bit more care than the than and that takes away from your ability to be able to be there all the time with your other kids. And so finding other ways to connect with your kids, one way is to dedicate, even if it's just 10 minutes of individual time with each of the other kids, and doing something that they want to do, letting them pick what they want to do. Video games don't count most of the time, but doing something with each of those kids every day. If you have a spouse, having them also take 10 minutes, and you do it separately. So you're not doing it together, but I'm spending time with one and you're spending time with the other, and then we switch. I know that's asking a lot when you have a special needs person, but that really does actually make a tremendous bit of difference, because even 10 minutes of quality time can do wonders for a child. And they understand, they get it, but it can do wonders for them. Just that you dedicated and you gave your 100% attention to them. And it sends a beautiful message.
And I agree, and the individualized attention, so it isn't the other kids or the special needs, child. So it is it is a lot, and I actually, that was part of my family situation. But it wasn't the only, my sister is not an addict, so don't, it is like Troy said, it isn't an automatic, oh, but I think it, being intentional. So, but I'm gonna say, because I remember watching my mom, taking care, and like she was frazzled. So if you can do self-care for you so that you have bandwidth. So I hope you've got, outside help or whatever, so that you have bandwidth, so that you are taking care of you, you're modeling self-care, and then, spending individual time with the other kids. Um, because I'm an addict doesn't mean my child is going to be an addict. Because this happened, people often reach out and go, "Oh, he was, sexually abused as a child, so therefore he's an addict." No, like, no, there's lots of people that don't have that. We find coping mechanisms, but yeah, you asking the question, like, that shows a lot of heart, and I'm grateful you're doing that. So, but take care of you too. Okay, my essay is a year sober. Now we're into the new ones. He's doing all the things CSAT 12 steps, respecting boundaries, and appears to be in good recovery. I thought it would feel good to get to this place. Why doesn't this feel good? I feel so angry and so hurt. It's almost like it's easier and safer to stay angry. Is this even normal for recovery to make the betrayed partner angry?
Well, is it even normal for recovery to make the betrayed partner angry? Um, well, you've probably been angry the whole time. Um, so I don't know that anybody has the ability to make you angry. Your partner could be doing things that are bumping up against your wounds. And then there's some core beliefs that usually get stirred up with that, like I'm not enough, there's nothing I can do, I can't trust my partner. Any of those core beliefs can lead to a feeling of anger. Um, so you're asking, well, why doesn't it feel good when he's doing all those things? I don't know the answer. To me, usually, what is underneath that is that there's other trauma that you may not have been dealing with, or maybe you didn't even know that you had. And so being with your partner, having the focus be on your partner's recovery and all those things, and thinking, well, that will fix it. That will make everything feel better. That will change everything. And then they start doing all those wonderful things and it doesn't fix it. Well, because that's not the thing. Yes, that person needs to do that for themselves and their recovery and to be able to create safety in the relationship. But we also have other work to do. And so the anger comes from a sense that something's being taken from you without your permission. So if you sit with that for a little while and think, okay, what do I sense is being taken from me? Even today, even though my partner's doing all this stuff, what's being taken? And notice I say a sense, not a reality. So is that a story that I keep telling myself, that this is being taken when it's not actually being taken? And if it is a story, then why do I need to, what's the benefit that I'm getting by continuing to tell this story? Does this have something to do with something way earlier on in my life that I haven't dealt with yet? So those are some questions that hopefully you have a therapist that you're working with. I know a lot of partners kind of resist the thought of going to therapy because they think, well, I'm not the one with the problem. I'm not the one who did all those things, and that's true. And also, you can still benefit from getting therapy and some support for yourself. And so your therapist probably could help work through some of this stuff and do a deeper dive as to what is this really about and how can we help heal you so that you're not angry and you're able to be in a much more grounded place for yourself.
I think it was key when you say it's easier and safer to stay angry. And I know for me, anger is an outward emotion, and you betcha it's safer because I can keep everything pushed out here. The other thing is, your essay knew all along the cheating, the infidelity, whatever the behaviors are, and you've known for a year. And so it's very different. And we often say it's 12 to 24 months for partners. But I would, I absolutely do think that there's, all of those things that Troy was talking about, and the hurt and things, but sure, anger, it would be easier. It's a lot more fun to have it be vented out this way than to go, oh gosh, this hurts. And so Debbie McCrae on her webinar last Friday talked about, I think it was last Friday, talked about the roadblocks for partners, and the first one is not getting help and support. So I'm glad you're here, but please lean into the drop-in groups, work with a qualified professional. There may be moments where doing some EMDR or other trauma therapy is useful for you too. So but yes, it's self-protection with that. So okay, how important is it for SAPA to do 90 meetings, PMO sobriety? Oh, porn, masturbation. Okay, sobriety. D-Day was 9 months. He's been attending SA meetings 2 times per week consistently for 7 months, weekly CSAT meetings for 3 months. Longest sobriety was 35 days, but he slips porn, masturbation every time I leave him or we have a big fight. Saturday was a recent slip with 3 weeks sobriety. His demeanor has changed. He shows he's in recovery. He stopped all SA behaviors. He is showing more intimacy, more connected to me, and wants to reach 90 days of sobriety. And then it's continued. Does he need to hit 90 days of sobriety to truly there's no rewiring his brain, or is it more about consistent doing recovery work? And 60 days of sobriety could help rewire the brain. What else helps an addict truly rewire the brain and get into true recovery? I swear, I hear this all the time. It's like, like if you do an electronics project and you move this wire from here to here, and then it's never going to go back there. But these are neural pathways. There's some good podcasts on that, on sex, love, and addiction. But Troy, talk about the time frame, please, in the recovery time.
So the idea is it gives you a chance for, we call it rebooting. So the idea around it is to give your brain a break from the continued dopamine release that the person keeps doing every time that they act out, or even having like sex with their partner or other people. So part of when I have guys do the 90-day challenge, it's like complete abstinence for 90 days, not just from porn and masturbation, but from even having sex with the partner. And sometimes the partner, so I always tell the guys, you better ask your wife before you decide to do this, because it's not fair to her that you say, oh, hi, honey, I'm not going to have sex with you for 90 days without her consent. That's not fair. But the point is to give your brain a break. And during that 90 days, to learn some things about yourself, to learn about what happens, like how does my body start reacting? How does my brain start reacting? And it's an opportunity to become mindful of the process that this cycle that I keep getting myself in does for me. There's no secret about the 90 days. They often say in the meetings, like 90 days, 90 minutes and 90 days. But it's not a secret about it. It is simply an opportunity to give the brain a break from all of the oxytocin, dopamine, all those things. And then from there, learning how we can create new patterns of behavior that go on. So kind of what Tammy was saying is, depending on how long your husband has been doing this, oftentimes since they were 13, 14 years old, they have a neural network in their brain now that says, hey, when I'm dealing with pain, that's how I deal with it. And so what we want them to do is create another neural network of, when I'm in pain, here's some other things I can do. The challenge is this neural network doesn't go away. It doesn't dissipate, it stays there. And so we have to learn new ways. So the 90 days is an opportunity to learn about myself. And when do I get tempted the most? Does that happen at night? How do I do that? Do I have a tendency to want to hide and not let anybody know? That's what it's about.
So to me, I'm wondering, because exactly what Troy was talking about with the, having the awarenesses, if he has a solid 3 circle plan, he would know, oh, I've slipped into that middle circle. And what do I need to do? He's got 12 step, people, supposedly a, sponsor, if he's going like, oh, and if there's temptation times, like you're saying, we've had a fight, okay, calling his sponsor in the moment. If he knows you're going to be gone, like, goodness, how hard for you to think every time I leave the house, I have to worry about him, acting out. So then it would be, Scott talks about the book ending. So like, you're going to leave the house. So he reaches out to a sponsor and goes, this is one of my weaker times. And so I'm going to, contact my sponsor before and after and make the commitment to not act out during, but so I hear he's doing some good things, but I also hear he's on a cycle of it, he's on the cycle of addiction, because going 30 days and just, relapsing and relapsing and relapsing, that's just a cycle of addiction, whether it's every day, 30 days, 90 days, or whatever. To me, this isn't that he's had a high enough level of help. So we have Sex Addiction 101 online work group starting again May 5th. Oh, no, I'm sorry, May 4th. It's a Saturday morning. And that's a solid, it's like Troy has the attachment wound work groups. Those are psychoeducation. Those are what you don't get with your therapist. 90 minutes, live facilitated, other peer connections. But I don't know what step he's working. It sounds like he needs to work on step 1, but ideally he starts getting to steps 4 through 9 in the 12-step program, because that's the housekeeping. So, we talk all the time, if what you're doing isn't enough, do more. 90 meetings in 90 days, it absolutely would be good, but working the steps too. So, okay, so those 2 are done, and I'm in here. My husband took 90 days seriously, and I've noticed a great change in him. We were building emotional intimacy and recently started up physical intimacy. He's been battling ED and performance anxiety and dove into YouTube for help. Should I be concerned with the frequency of how-to videos being watched regarding sex, intimacy, and ED? I heard in a women's group that this is edging behavior. I'm not sure how to approach this with him. I don't mind it now, but I would if it's against his recovery.
Okay, so the biggest question I'm having is if he's doing it in secret. Um, so it's not necessarily edging, but absolutely could be. There's men who look at porn, especially streaming porn, have a 25% higher chance of dealing with erectile dysfunction than guys who don't. So if a guy's been looking at porn for a while, there's a huge chance that they are already dealing with a erectile dysfunction. And that's shaming for a guy. Like, they feel a lot of shame. So one of the ways that they got it to work is that they looked at inappropriate images, and then it got their brain to work. And so now they've created this pattern that I need an inappropriate image in order to get my body to do its thing. And I'm taking away the stimulus, and now my body's not doing its thing. And the wife is like, but I'm not here. But it's because of the pattern. So they have to unlearn what they have learned when it comes to sex and intimacy. And I'll try not to be too graphic, but you think about a teenage boy who's figuring out how to do this, even if they don't turn into an addict. It's like, we got to do it really quick. We got to hide, like, we can't let anybody know. There's a lot of shame around that. We got to get it done. And that's not how you make beautiful love, is doing it really quick. So so the guy has to learn how to do things differently. Wouldn't it be wonderful if he was able to be open and talk to you about it? And even sit down and say, hey, can we watch something together so that I can learn, so we can learn how to do this. There's some not inappropriate stuff on YouTube, some very informative things on YouTube, but the way that men usually typically try to connect with their partner is through physical connection. The way that women try to connect with their partners through emotional connection. And I don't know why the maker made it's like that, but that's how it works. So men are wanting to have that sexual connection, that intimacy, but the best way to make that happen is to talk about it. Guys don't want to talk about it. It's weird. Sometimes women don't want to talk about it. It's weird, but that's the best way. The more they can have dialogue about it and talk about it and have it not be so shameful and talk about the things that work and don't work, that goes a long way. So my concern is that if he's doing this in secret, that sends up a red flag to me. Either he's dealing with shame or he's not being completely honest in his recovery. And if you're finding it after the fact, then I would definitely talk to him about it and say, hey, let's do this as a couple. Let's figure this out together.
But even if she knows about it, what I hear you saying also is that, like we talked about non-porn porn, like if there's a high frequency of these videos, it could be doing the same things. And you said the stats of like, and the more you watch porn, the more it contributes to the problem. So even if it isn't done in secret, porn-induced erectile dysfunction is absolutely yes. There's that that can be, but it's also has he been to a medical person to make sure that there isn't anything else going on? But yeah, like I sensate focus touch to me would be a much better thing than a YouTube video. Like you start with there's lots of stuff on that we've talked about in other webinars too, but start with healthy touch. It's not just like let's get to the orgasm, stuff will shift. It's about connecting in a real and meaningful way, and so taking the focus off of erectile dysfunction can also reduce anxiety too. So other questions? We got through all of the March ones.
Amazing.
And now the April one. So I don't see any others.
I know, right?
Anything to add to other
This
things?
feels like the women's group.
Oh, really?
There's like awkward silence. We laugh about it all the time, right? Because I see some names in the women's group that are hanging out right now. And
Oh, good. We got a question. That's good.
they're
Yeah,
like, just sit in awkward silence. It's all good.
We have great communication about this subject and have even done sensate focus. A lot of informational based after hearing it was edging. I was just concerned. So
Well, I think it's appropriate to raise the question with him. And you'll, depending on how he responds, will give you a lot of I try not to the how he responds. So if he gets defensive, that's a little bit of a red flag. But if he's like, no, honey, I can see why that would be a concern, and let's figure out that together, then that would be a much healthier way of addressing that. So that it's because I don't know the situation. It could be yes, and it could be no. But part of that is having the dialogue with your partner.
so you're getting lots of Troy fills the awkward silence. So
I try not.
okay. So here's a comment. Why is the bad good? The things in my past that happened to me were good. Even the bad things were good because the necessity of each experience provided me with the wisdom to share with other people going through the same experience. Is it selfish for me to claim my experiences are mine when they are experienced to be shared by all humanity in an effort to improve the quality of life for all? The only way I can live in love is by giving away what I have. I can't keep it unless I give it away. So
Well, I think what you're saying is we often label things as bad and good, and that's probably not the healthiest way to label something. There's a story uh, about a man who lived in China, and he had a bunch of horses, and uh, they all ran away. And the neighbors were like, "Oh, that's so bad. That's so awful. Your horses ran away." And he said, "Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We shall see." And then the horses came back, and when they came back, they brought with them like a couple of other like Mustangs with them, and everybody's like, "Oh, isn't that amazing? Your horses brought back more horses. That's so good. That's so good." And the man said, "Well, maybe it is, and maybe it isn't." And then one day, his son was breaking in the new horses, and the horse fell on his son and broke his son's leg. And so he wasn't able to help around the ranch. And the neighbors came over and said, "Oh my gosh, isn't that so bad? That's just so bad. Your son's leg is broken. That's just awful." And the man said, "Well, maybe it is, and then maybe it isn't." And then war broke out in the country, and all able-bodied young men had to go to war. But because the kid had broken his leg, he wasn't able to go. And so the neighbors ran over and said, "Isn't that so great that he didn't have to go?" And so kind of that perspective of like, if we label things bad or good, that's maybe not the most accurate way to describe things. It could be that was a really painful experience, but man, I am grateful that I had it. I've learned so much. I've learned and grown, and I've been able to share things about that with others, and I've learned that I'm not alone in all of that. That's a different way of saying it. So I love the philosophy that you're sharing, is like it doesn't have to be bad. Even having an addiction doesn't have to be bad. We can learn from it, and we can help others grow. And even having a spouse that is an addict doesn't have to be bad. We can learn and grow, and learn more about ourselves and become more loving as a result.
Well, but I also don't want to go back and repeat those things because
No.
they were hurtful in the, in the moment to myself and others. So yes, I think we absolutely have an opportunity to take what we have learned, and be of use to other people. But yeah, I want to have learned the lesson myself because I can't give it away. If I don't have it, is right. So, yes, I love the Chinese farmer story. So yes, but
One of
yeah,
my favorite stories too.
one of them said, "We adore you," to Roy, and he just deleted that one. So, are we making you blush a little bit? It's okay.
I'm very grateful. Thank you. I did say thank you, but any other questions for us today? When are you doing the next women's retreat?
Oh, we just got the dates, and it's we were going to go back to the other venue, and it's no longer available. They're turning it into a detox center, so we're like, okay.
Dang
So we
it.
had to regroup. So we actually were able to move it up to August 15th through 18th, and we'll be in Scottsdale. It will be yeah, which is convenient,
I know for you, right?
Debbie and me, but it's like this location is going to be amazing. So and convenient for for flights and things too. It's not too far from the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, which is pretty
Yeah.
easy. But yes, we had several people. I have like 4 applications of people who, without having details, have sent the applications in. So we're gonna now in earnest, work on getting the word out there about this. It is on the Seeking Integrity website. We do invite you to participate. Um, like the transformation in a weekend, like people just, Debbie McCrae talks about internal boundaries, external boundaries, but we're doing all kinds of different work. And guess what? It's about the work for us. It's not about, it's almost irrelevant of what we're not talking about the guys and what they've been doing and not doing. We're here to support and help with healing, and it's transformational. So I'm such a I'm so blessed to be part of it, just there, showing up and witnessing it is, as a gift. It took me, I realized, we got done on Sunday and I came home and I was still tearing up on Wednesday, like the emotional, of just like how powerful it was. I was like, and I'm there to participate, or not participate, just help make things run smoothly. So like I'm not one of I'm a beneficiary of it for sure, but not, actively participating. So anyway,
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, yeah. So lots of resources on our site. I guess if we don't have other questions, then
Then we can, yeah,
we'll end early. We appreciate all of you guys being here, and Troy, I will see you on the third Wednesday of the month next month. So watch the schedule. There's some changes for May. So, but thanks. Oh, thanks, Troy and Tammy. Oh, thank you. So, okay, bye everyone. Thanks,
hi,
Troy.
you're welcome.